Thank you. Hello, everyone. I call the meeting to order. This meeting of the Hopkinton Select Board is being held both in person and remotely using the video conference platform Zoom. All members participating in the meeting are present in the meeting room. The public has the option of attending in person here at Town Hall or via Zoom using the link posted in this meeting's agenda. This meeting is being recorded. The first item is Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. First item on the agenda is Select
Mr.
Board.
Vice Chair, point of order, please.
Yes.
I would like to move the public forum portion of the meeting to the first agenda item and follow that with the Select Board reorganization.
Okay.
I think I'm fine with that. Yep.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
So we'll have the public forum. Each person will have up to 2 minutes to speak. And please start by stating your name and address. Is there anyone who wants to go first? Please.
Ken Weissmantel, 145 Ash Street. I have two public service announcements. Memorial Day is coming on this Thursday at 4 o'clock. The veterans, with help of the Scouts, will be starting to reflag the cemeteries in preparation for Memorial Day. If it's raining on Thursday at 4 o'clock, we'll do it on Friday at 4 o'clock. The Memorial Day services on Monday start at 9:45 at the Evergreen Cemetery. We'll be at the, then we'll go to the other cemeteries, and then at the Memorial Gazebo on the Ton Common, the service starts at 11:15. Should finish by noon. Everyone is welcome to the Memorial Day remembrance items. The other thing that I'd like to announce is that the Horribles Parade on 4th of July is coming back. The Parks and Rec is helping with the Republican Town Committee to get just the organization for it. It'll be typical traditional noon start. It will be horrible, of course, and everyone is welcome to that, and you'll hear more and more about that as we get closer to the 4th of July. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ken.
Hi, Ed Harrow, 43-year resident of Hopkinton. Congrats to our newly elected and our re-elected members of the board. I wish you great success, happiness, and hope it all works out. Now, speaking as a chair of the Open Space Preservation Commission, and I know it's an item of interest to me, but I have a Concom meeting, so I will be stepping out as soon as I finish. A year ago, I emailed the 4 people in Town Hall that I noted the commission is particularly interested in a particular parcel. Further, I asked that the commission be informed of any actions the town may be contemplating on this parcel. Last week, I had a chat with a longtime employee. There's a connection here. There was much discussion about the difficulty of getting anything done and of silo management. And that very same day, I received a tip that Hopkinton had put that same parcel up for auction with no notice to or discussion with the commission, despite the email indicating the commission's interest. This is the second instant of silo management affecting the commission this year. Moving on, the Open Space Preservation Commission looks forward to the Select Board working together to reduce the endemic silo management and reestablishing working partnerships amongst the various members of the community, especially with us, of course. Thank you, and good luck.
Thank you.
Steve Snow, 78 Pine Island Road. To the board, I am pleased to announce that I am not here in anguish and anger. I'm here with joy and hope for our town. I think the public has spoken. We spoke at town meeting, we've spoken in these walls, and then we spoke at the election polls. I don't feel that there's a current member of last year's sitting board that is responsible enough to become chair of this board, and I think that we should look to our 2 new members to choose a new chair. Thank you.
I'm going to go next because my kids are here. So make sure I don't cause any disruption, even though they're doing a good job. So I'm Ashley Fogg. I'm at 5 Cross Street. Good evening, Select Board. Thank you for the opportunity to speak during public comment. I believe public comment is an essential part of these meetings, allowing team members to express their views, town members, not team members, allowing town members to express their views and hopes for our community's future. In the past several months, many community members have been deeply upset with how the Select Board has handled not only the Tim Brennan matter, but also other significant issues. We have felt unheard and unseen. While I appreciate the time and effort the board dedicates to Hopkinton, it's important to remember that you serve to represent the people's will. Your duty is to be their voices and advocates. Yesterday's election results were clear. The town decisively chose Brian Herr and Joe Clark as the newest members of the Select Board with a 2-to-1 vote margin. This overwhelming support indicates a strong desire for new leadership and fresh perspectives in our town's governance. Brian Herr brings a wealth of experience, wisdom, and leadership to the board. His campaign demonstrated his unmatched qualifications, making him the clear choice for Select Board Chair. Our town seeks healing from the actions of this board. On a personal note, I have been deeply disappointed by the lack of response from the current board members affiliated with the HGTC regarding the defamation against me, which raised concerns for my safety and that of my children. Despite significant discussion and condemnation a few weeks ago over a single Facebook comment about Mr. Mannon, the board sat in silence last year when myself and my family were attacked. This unacceptable inaction contributed to the passing of Article 2 last fall. The election results from both Article 2 and yesterday reflect the town's stance against such abhorrent behavior and the desire to move away from all that you have allowed to transpire over the last year. You should have done better, and you can do better. Brian Herr is the clear choice for chair. I urge you to listen to our community, to those desperate for change and new perspectives. I have 2 sentences left. Instead of voting your party, you should vote the will of the town. Allow this board to move in a new direction. If you truly advocate for our community, please vote for him. Such a decision would significantly aid in healing the wounds of the past year and demonstrate the Select Board is responsive to the will of the people. Please vote Brian Herr. Thank you.
I request you to keep it to 2 minutes, please.
Before I start, Mr. Manon, when you spoke on racism, you spoke for 5.5 minutes as a private citizen. And not once were you warned that 2 minutes was the limit.
I don't remember that.
Oh, yes, you did. You spoke for over 5.5 minutes. Over 5.5 minutes. Timothy Boyven, 41 Pinecrest Village. Today is May 21st. It's been 123 days since the Hopkinton Police Department, at the direction of Chief Joseph Bennett, released the transcript of Sergeant Timothy Brennan's interview in the Crow Report, a transcript which contained unredacted personal identifying information of the courageous woman whose testimony resulted in the now retired Deputy Chief of the Hopkinton Police Department, John Porter, being charged with 3 counts of child rape. Also unredacted was personal identifying information about the woman's young children. It's been 120 days since that transcript was taken down, but only after it had been released and published over 2 days by multiple media outlets, as well as shared to thousands more through Select Board Amy Ritterbusch's social media accounts. It's been 119 days since then Select Board Chair Muriel Kramer, speaking on behalf of the entire Select Board and the town government, said, quote, "Doing the work and making sure this never happens again is foremost on our minds, as well as rightly holding ourselves and others accountable as needed in meaningful ways, including but not limited to correcting processes and requiring any necessary or relevant training or retraining." It's been 32 days since the first Assistant District Attorney of the Northwest District, Stephen Gagne, said the following parties were negligent in not making sure the transcript was properly redacted. 2 Kroll investigators and its stenographer, Hopkinton labor attorney Myrick O'Connell, Town Council Harrington Heap LLP, then Town Manager Norman Kamala, Hopkinton Police Chief Joseph Bennett, the entire Hopkinton Select Board at the time. I would add to that list, as a person who ran 2 PR firms, the town's PR firm, JGPR, which also should have had processes in place to protect the survivor. Gagne concluded his report by saying, ideally, the town of Hopkinton and its council will implement precautionary measures to ensure this sort of mistake does not repeat itself. My questions: what precautionary measures has the town of Hopkinton and its council put in place to ensure this sort of mistake does not repeat itself? Who, per Ms. Kramer's statement, has been held accountable as needed in meaningful ways? Have any of these parties Mr. Gagne listed suffered any types of consequences whatsoever? How will anyone in this town ever be able to trust this select board, this town government, this police department, if you don't come clean about what exactly happened and how it happened? Your lack of action continues to traumatize this young woman and her family, going on for more than 4 months now. It's been devastating.
Way more than 2 minutes.
No, I'm going to finish. As Ms. Kramer said at that select board meeting in January, words are simply inadequate, especially if those words aren't backed up by actions of any meaningful consequence. Until then, no sexual assault victim, or really any crime victim, can feel safe in coming forward to report a crime to the Hopkinton Police Department. This entire town government simply cannot be trusted until it comes clean on this matter.
Thank you.
I'll be much shorter than 2 minutes. Hi, my name is Kelly Fitzgerald. I'm from 83 Ash Street. I'm a lifelong Center Democrat and an independent, registered independent voter. I may be the only person in this room who voted for all of you. So I'd like to ask the Select Board, and especially Mary Jo, who has the most history with Brian, to elect Brian as our town's Select Board Chair. With all due respect to Shadul Manin, Vice Chair, and everyone on the Select Board, I believe Brian Herr has the most, 4 terms, now 5th, and best experience needed to chair our town Select Board. We've been hearing a lot this week about the will of the people, and I believe our extraordinary voter turnout yesterday and the selection of Brian and Joe, and my voting for them, speak to the current will of our town. Thank you.
Good evening. Jennifer Belisi, 24 Huckleberry Road, former Board of Health Chair as well, so thank you for your volunteerism, and congratulations, Brian and Joe. Good luck. I heard today something that compelled me to be here tonight, and with all due respect to everybody on the board, I heard that Shadul was going to try and become the chair of this board. It has surprised me, to say the very least. I feel like there is an ongoing attempt to recall him from the board as well as other board members. I hope the board has the sense to appoint either Brian or Joe. To make someone a chair of this board is essentially a promotion. But how in good faith can we promote somebody if there's an ongoing petition with over 700 signatures to recall these people, our neighbors, and who we have tasked with making decisions for us as a whole? So it strikes me backward and negligent that we would appoint somebody whose signatures the town is accumulating to recall those in favor right now. So I ask that you as a board vote Brian as your chair moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Karen Crum, 12 Joseph Road. congratulations to both of you. I think the board looks fantastic. I don't really have anything prepared, to be honest with you. I just wanted to express my desire to bring Hopkinton back to what I knew it used to be. I love Hopkinton. I've been here 21 years. It begins with our select board. It begins with leadership. It begins with all of us doing the best we can. I know it's hard. I know you've had a lot in front of you, but I do remember the years I was here when Brian Herr was chair. And I really feel like we need to move forward from everything that's been going on and bring back our town. I would love to see Brian Herr as chair. Joe, I'm sure you would too, but no offense. Amy, I know you've been chair. Thank you for that. But I just feel like the town needs the support of the board. The board needs the support of the town. And I just feel like it would really make a difference to have a change up in the board. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? We do have one more minute to go, maybe.
My name is Paula Garland, and I live at 50 Downey Street, and I want to congratulate you two, and I want to welcome you here, and I'm looking forward to seeing how this works, and I have really good feelings about it, and I too am here to ask that Brian be the chair, and the reason why is because I've done some research, and I believe that Brian has the most experience and the most knowledge with the town laws. And in fact, what is unbelievably impressive to me is that just within hours of being elected, both Brian and Joe showed up at the Hop Take podcast for Hop News, and Brian showed up with a list of actionable items that he wants to get started on. And I just thought that was crazy. I mean, he literally was elected like an hour or two prior to that. And these are really impressive in my opinion. Some of which are, he wants to appoint a liaison for the corridor project. And you know what? We all complain about that, and I'm a big one to say, oh, that just looks stupid and whatever. And he brought a different perspective. He said, let's finish it. We can all complain, but let's finish it and complain later. How do we know it's not going to be fabulous? So I thought that was great. The water and sewer, PFAS, MWRA issues, he wants to set up a board appointed by the select board, you guys, that digs into the money and the process to make that happen and to help fix our water issues. He wants to put all of your collective heads and minds around spending and the budget. He wants to put limits of authority in place for hiring and for spending. And this isn't to say that there won't be hiring or spending, but just he wants all of that to go through you guys, because you would know how to do that best of anybody here. And I think that's a wonderful idea. So I just hope that things go forward in a smooth fashion, and I have great hopes, and I'd like to thank all of you for your service. I know this is a really hard job, so thank you.
Good evening. Gail Ober, 17 Fawn Ridge Road. Congratulations, Joe and Brian. Welcome aboard. You certainly have your work cut out for you. I just wanted to say that after listening to those comments, that I don't see how this board can do anything other than vote Brian as the new chair. I think that Joe and Brian were elected partly because people felt ignored and unseen by the last select board, as Ashley Fogg had stated. It is my hope that the new board gets off on the right foot and listens to those who have taken the time to be here tonight, and I'm sure that we all speak for many others out there in the community. As Mike Shepard said during town meeting, you work for us, and we the people have spoken. Please elect Brian as the chair. Thank you.
Thank you. I think we are running late for our agenda. Anyone else wants to say anything? Otherwise, we'll move to the next item. All right, hearing none, I think we'll move to our agenda item. So first item is Select Board reorganization. The board will elect a new chair and vice chair for the next year. So the process will be, I'll announce the floor is open for nomination, and then we'll go through the nomination, and then the new chair will open the floor for nomination for vice chair. So with that, I open the floor for nominations for chair.
I move to nominate Brian Herr as chair.
I'll second that nomination.
And I would move to nominate Shahidul Manan as chair.
I'll second that nomination. So with that, I think we'll go, excuse me one sec. We'll go for the runoff voting process. So before I entertain a motion, I would like to ask each of the board members to indicate which candidate they prefer for the position of chair.
Chair, point of order. There's a motion on the table. I believe there's two motions on the table. Wouldn't we take up the motions that are on the table first before we go to another motion?
No, we typically go around, and if there's a clear majority preference, then we move forward with the nomination.
We usually go around and find out where the majority is, and then try to reconcile that way. And it's written on the script. If you look at on the last page as
I got
well.
the script. So this is about my, I don't know, I think it's about my 22nd reorganization over the years. And I understand this one's awkward, and I feel for everybody in the room in many different ways. But I think it's really important that we consider the will of the people from yesterday, the will of the people from town meeting, and certainly the will of those that showed up this evening as well. So with that, if we have a process that we want to follow, that's fine, but I would caution the board not to follow a process to the detriment of the community. Thank you.
We will follow the process. Thank you for that statement. So as I was mentioning, I can start from the left if you want to state your preference for the candidate.
Well, I think I just did.
Then we can move to the next.
I think I'll continue for a minute. You know, as I mentioned, this is a difficult process. It shouldn't be as difficult as it is. You know, it hasn't been as difficult all the time. But it's really important to me. I think to the board, it should be important to the board. I know it's important to the town that we do get off to a good start. I think there's been a lot.
Point of order. I think we are going out of scope. Let's follow the process, please.
Okay, so I'm advocating for my candidacy to be the chair. I think there's been a lot of issues over the last year that need to be addressed. There's a lot of issues that remain outstanding, and I think it's important that we put experience in the center chair that can bring the community together and not further divide the community, and that is why I'm happy to serve as the chair if the board so chooses. Thank you.
Thank you. Respectfully, let's follow the process, please.
Yep, so I support Brian Herr, and I think a lot's been said. I agree with all of it. The most important thing is we as a board need to come together and set an example for this town, start instilling trust in the town leadership again, and really allow the town to heal. This is a huge step in that direction if we consider it that way. And addressing the will of the people, making sure they're heard, that's going to allow all of us to get back to business, which we want to do. There's a lot of things we need to get taken care of this year, and if we can get the respect of the town quickly, I think that goes a long ways. So, Brian Herr.
Thank you. I think it's an open democratic process. Let's follow the process. When I was elected, I got the highest vote as well, but I didn't jump into the chair role. I think there are some process, some procedure that we follow, and respectfully, I want to follow that as well. And I have also the experience of the Select Board and being engaged with the town for almost 10 years now. And I fully respect Brian Hare and everyone on this board. And I do think that this type of discussion is what brings up the division when we are not following the process as we have followed in the last 10, 20 years, if you go back. But not only that, I think I bring a lot to the table, and we, as I mentioned several times, have been a lot of issues over the last year that's been painful for the community, painful for many. We fully respect that, but we want to get back with the key issues that we have been focused on. We have been doing it sometimes not in a so visible manner because of the other issues overwhelmingly taking over. But there are work that's going on. There are more work that we want to focus on, and I work with everyone, and I look forward to work with everyone. And regardless of the outcome, I think we will all come together as one board and work on the key issues. I truly believe in one Hopkinton, and that's what I want everyone to remember and work together going forward. So with that, I give mine to Shahidul Manan.
And I also would vote for Shahidul Manan. And I just, we don't usually add, but everyone's added to it, so I will. But so Shahidul has already initiated a PFAS advisory committee, so I'm very happy to hear that Brian is also interested in that as well. And Shahidul has also already set up a framework for an economic development advisory council, which would fit in, not exactly the downtown project, but would fit in with, and the liquefied natural gas plant oversight and advisory committee. So I really think that he can do good work for the committee and for the town, and get working on all these other important issues. But I think that every one of us can work collaboratively with whoever is chair.
I have a pretty loud voice anyway, so I think you can probably hear me. This is a really tough one for me. I've worked with both men. Both men are honorable, and both men can see the big picture, and I have enjoyed both of their company, and I really do like them very much. But in this case, I do believe that the town needs a quiet down period, and I would go for Brian Hare.
Thank you.
Okay, so then I would make a motion to nominate Brian Hare as chair.
Second. All that are in favor, say aye.
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 Aye, sorry.
Okay.
So now we'll reorganize.
Mr. Vice Chair, if we could change seats, I'll take over from here.
Too much drama, but I guess that's the norm of the day. Thank you, Brian.
Let's hope that's the last of the drama, right?
I don't know. We'll see, Mr. Hare. Let's start with the drama.
Should I use yours?
Yeah. And the
Okay, thank you all very much. I appreciate your confidence. I appreciate the gravity of the situation. I appreciate the frustration and the angst, and I understand how everyone feels. I get it. I truly do. But it's time to move ahead. The chair will entertain a motion for vice chair nominations.
I move to nominate Mary Jo Lafreniere.
A second, if you're interested. Yep. Okay.
I'm sorry, is there a second?
Yes, Amy.
Amy, so Joe motion, Amy second for Mary Jo Lafreniere. Any other nominations?
Shahidul, would you be interested in vice chair again? I'm happy to nominate.
I wouldn't mind, yeah.
Okay, so I would nominate Shahidul Manan for vice chair.
Is there a second?
I second that.
Okay. So following that last process we went through, which, by the way, was new to me, I hadn't seen that before.
We definitely did that when you were on the board with me.
I don't recall it. My memories were not what it used to be. Following that process, I think we started to the left, went to the right, and everybody shared their straw poll support for an individual. Does that sound fair?
Yes.
And if they want to make a comment or two, that would be fine as well. Mr. Manning.
Shahidul Manan.
Mary Jo Lafreniere.
I think it's my understanding anyway, and I guess some evidence that doesn't always come true, that this could be Ms. Lafreniere's last year on the board. Who knows? Trust me on that one. And given that, I would be honored to have Mary Jo Lafreniere sit as the vice chair. Thank you.
My vote will go for Shahidul Manan. Didn't mean to put you in that awkward spot.
Well, I've been on the hot seat anyway. I respectfully would accept and will vote for myself in this role. I think that having a combination of people of the different backgrounds here might help to bring around a consensus for the town. And that's all I really wanted to do, and that's all I still want to do. Might not change opinions on everything, but we will work. I've worked with Brian before, and we will work. That's all I'm going to say.
Okay, I think still in line with the process, based on that input from everybody, we would then go ahead and entertain a motion for Mary Jo Lafreniere to serve as our vice chair.
I move for Mary Jo Lafreniere as vice chair.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It's unanimous and so voted. Welcome, Mary Jo. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next up on the agenda, and you'll have to bear with me a little bit here, folks. I am a tad rusty. We have the consent agenda, but Elaine, we have a public hearing at 6:45, correct? So if you could be so kind as to make sure that we don't miss that timeline, that'd be great. We have the consent agenda in front of us. Mrs. Lazarus.
The consent agenda this evening is approving the minutes of April 5th and April 12th. Sorry about that. The consent agenda this evening is to approve the minutes of the April 5th and 12th meetings, to approve parade permit applications for the Pride Parade on June 8th from 1 to 4 p.m. at the Center for the Arts, the Jimmy Fund Walk on October 6th along the Boston Marathon Road course, and for the Cystic Fibrosis Cycle for Life on October 5th, which is part of a multi-route town race. To accept the resignations of Nenda Barker-Hook from the Historical Commission, Peggy Barton from the Sustainable Green Committee, and Amit Tandon from the Sustainable Green Committee, and to approve disclosure forms, General Law 268A disclosure forms, and 20B exemptions to allow the hiring of the following municipal employees of the school department who seek to provide personal services to the Parks and Recreation Department for seasonal sports clinics. It'd be Will Collins, Cameron Gallagher, John Golden, Michael Graber, Michael Greco, Barrett Hanlon, Thomas Keene, Callie Corby, Michaela Pucci, Gregory Romank, Mark Sanborn, and Mike Webb.
I would like to pull out item D.
Pull item D. Okay, thank you. Anyone want to pull anything else?
Well, I don't really want to pull item C, but I do want to thank everybody for their service to the town.
Great, let's leave it in, but we'll put the thank you in the motion.
It's a thank you in it.
Okay, anything else anyone want to pull? Okay, the chair will entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda minus item D with a thank you for those that have served the town in item C. Item C.
So moved.
Nancy, or Nanda and Peggy. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, items 1 through C, A through C anyway are approved as written. Item D, Mrs. Ritterbusch.
Yes, I had just had some questions about this, not an objection, but given what's happened in the town over the last few years, I was concerned about youth protection, and I know these are all school staff, so if they take a youth protection training some sort from the schools, but I wanted to make sure that that Parks and Rec also had a procedure in place for reporting of suspected grooming or, or worse. And so Elena looked that up for me today, so maybe she can elaborate.
The Parks and Recreation Department does require that each of them take the required courses, online courses,
Before we
in that
get-
regard.
So thank you, I appreciate that.
Elaine, are they all Corey certified as well? I would think so.
Presumably, yes. I don't have confirmation from the school department, but we can assume that.
And all those things have to be renewed, so we want to make sure
Right, it's an annual
renewed.
thing for the Corey, I think.
I see Parks and Rec is here. Do you have anything that you want to say?
That's correct.
Okay.
All right, great.
Thank you.
So with that, Mrs. Ritterbusch, you want to make a motion?
Yep.
I would make a motion to approve the consent agenda item D, disclosure forms review and approval of 20B exemptions.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? It is a who's who of Hopkinton athletics, that's for sure. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It's unanimous and so carries. All set. On to item number 5, employee appointments. Mrs. Lazarus.
So I believe we have HR here with employees.
Welcome all from HR. Go ahead.
So first this evening, we have Ann Fahey, who is recommended as Assistant Treasurer Collector in the Finance Department. Ann works under the direction of the Treasurer Collector and performs skilled administrative, technical, and financial work, assisting the Treasurer Collector and Finance Office in all areas of responsibility, including billing, collection, treasury, debt management, maintenance of accounts, and other financial records. Ann has experience with the town of Franklin, with the Medway Public Schools, with the town of Medway, and with the Milford Regional Medical Center. She has a Bachelor of Science in Business Management and a Master of Science in Health Informatics and Management. And her references revealed from the Milford Regional Hospital that her role there required a high degree of accuracy and detail in working with patients who had been admitted to the ER and pharmacies regarding medications and had a calming effect on them. Another reference stated that they send their most difficult customers to her and then tell coworkers to watch and learn. Ann was described also as a great teacher. She has a mathematical mind, is a creative thinker, and is an excellent listener, and gives 100% effort. And another reference indicated that she is someone who looks for answers to problems. She takes initiative and wants to know the why. She thinks out of the box and finds efficiencies wherever possible. And Jessica Leverins, Human Resources Director, can talk about the interview process.
Please.
So we advertised the position both internally and externally. We received 15 applicants for the position. 6 candidates were interviewed in the first round. The first round panel included Joyce Emery, the administrative manager for the fire department, Nicole LeVay, the assistant town clerk, Poonam Ringsani, assistant town accountant, Kayla LaPierre, Chief Financial Officer, and Kristen Merrill, the Human Resources Generalist. 3 candidates were moved forward for a second round interview. Second round panel included Cindy Johnston, our town accountant, CJ Paquette, our treasurer collector, Kyla LaPierre, our chief financial officer, and myself. Anne was the outstanding candidate for the position.
Great, thank you very much. At this time, I think it would make sense for the board to see if they have any questions. Is that fair? Everybody good with that? Why don't we start with Mrs. Front
I would like to hear from our collector treasurer what he feels about having a new assistant.
I'm excited to have the position filled so that I can focus more of my time on my full-time job. And we feel really excited to have Anne on board. She provides a lot of knowledge to our office that is critical, and a breath of fresh air for the office, which we are also think is critical. So we're excited to fill the position.
Thank you.
Mrs. Ritterbusch.
Yes, I just wanted to say welcome. We looked through your resume and your cover letter. We're really pleased that you have municipal experience, because that is hard to find new people that have municipal experience. And a lot of towns try to hold on to their payroll manager as long as they possibly can. So we're really glad to welcome you, and yeah, very nice to meet you.
Mr. Clark.
If our treasurer is excited, I'm excited as well. Welcome to the town.
And Mr. Mann.
Nothing much to add. Welcome to Hopkinton, and thank you for choosing our town.
You may or may not know, there's some new folks on the board this evening. I was here for a long time. I don't recognize you folks. My apologies. Don't take it personally. We'll get to know each other soon, very quickly here, but thanks for bringing her forward, and we look forward to seeing you on board. So do we need a motion on this, or is this an introduction?
Yep.
Okay.
I would move to appoint Ann Fahey as Assistant Treasurer Collector.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, we'll go with Mr. Manning. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? It's unanimous and so approved. So all good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Don't.
And we usually ask you to
leave. I
stay,
think we're going to be
stay
having
for a picture if you don't mind.
Later, okay?
So next up, Elaine, item B, please.
Thomas Iverson.
Welcome, Thomas.
So Tom is recommended for appointment as the food service worker at the senior center. Under the senior services director, the position assists in the design and development of daily and special menus, maintains the quality, sanitation, and safety standards, prepares and serves meals, cleans the kitchen and dining area, provides backup to the dishwasher, and provides exceptional customer service to seniors and others participating in the meal programs. Position also monitors the food supply and ensures that supplies are stored appropriately and within guidelines. Tom's experience is with Donlands in Wayland, with Hopkinton Drug as a pharmacy technician, and learning prep as a speech therapist. He has a Bachelor of Arts in Language, German, and a Master of Science in Speech and Language. His references have revealed that he's a team player. He isn't afraid to jump in where needed and is reliable. He was also described as detail-oriented and thorough. Tom's reference from the pharmacy described him as a precise, fastidious, and exacting, and he was very focused on cleanliness and making sure there was no cross-contamination. Also, he's someone who works well independently, but also works very well as part of a team. And Jessica will describe the process.
Great, thank you.
So again, we advertise the position externally and internally. We had 2 applicants apply. We interviewed Tom as the only one interviewed. The interview panel was Melissa Menard, the head chef, Jessica Mignol, the Senior Services Assistant Director, Amy Beck, Senior Services Director, and Kristen Merrill, the Human Resources Generalist. And although he was the only one interviewed, he stood out as not only a good fit for the position, but a good fit for the environment in the kitchen in the senior center. So we are happy to recommend his appointment.
Great, thank you. Thank you. To the board, Mr. Manning.
Nothing much to add. I just want to hear a little bit from you. What was your interest in this position and for our town?
Well, I've lived here 36 years, and in my kind of quasi-retirement, after being my career as a speech therapist, I achieved a culinary certificate at Salter College, and I did my practice cooking at this kitchen. So it kind of familiarized me and attracted me to come back and after I was kind of done with some other part-time opportunities and seek employment there again. Yeah.
Thank you. That's a wonderful story.
Thanks.
Mr. Clark.
Nothing to ask. Providing support for our seniors. I love it. So thank you.
Thank you, and congratulations.
Thank you.
From here.
Oh, I know Tom very well. He was my neighbor for almost 20 years, or around 20 years, let's just say. And I have waited table at the senior center as a volunteer. And I have worked up there, and I know what the kitchen's like and what the people are like. And I know Tom so well that he's a perfect fit. Plus, he has moved up to Davis Road, so it's like right next door to go to work. And I think he's an excellent choice.
Thanks.
I just want to say welcome and welcome back, since apparently you live here. But we loved hearing everyone's the references and how everyone described you. And I know the seniors really love going to the senior center for their lunch. So I'm happy that we're going to have those spots filled so there's no gaps in coverage. Thank you.
Tom, thank you very much. We look forward to having you on the team. Chair will entertain a motion, please.
I move to appoint Thomas Iverson as food service worker, senior services.
I second that.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It's unanimous and so carries. Thank you, Tom. Congratulations.
Congratulations to you as well.
Stick around for a little bit. We're going to get a picture, everybody.
Elaine, item C.
Yes, so there's one additional item under this, and that's to appoint the treasurer collector as the tax title custodian, which the position may have been appointed in the past, but a record of that vote cannot be found. So it's recommended by council that we make that appointment. And CJ, treasurer collector, is here along with our tax title attorney to explain if necessary.
So basically, we are auctioning a property in June, and in order to do that, we need a tax custodian to kind of watch the process throughout. It's been a very long time since we've actually had to auction a property. This specific property has been in tax lien for 9 years, so it's good to get off the books and get back onto the tax table. So it's just a legality, it's a Mass General law that we have to have the custodian.
Great, thank you. And council, you're all good?
Yeah, no, certainly. If you have any questions, I'm happy to elaborate, but otherwise, you guys did it perfectly.
Okay, thank you. Why don't we start with Mr. Clark for any questions?
No questions.
Mr. Mann?
Nothing at this time.
Ms. Ritterbusch?
No questions, but I appreciate the explanation. It's helpful for the public.
Of course.
Madam Vice Chair?
This is kind of just it's not a correction, but it's just clearing up some.
Right.
And so I totally agree.
It's just been such a long time since we've had to do this process. We're just, crossing our T's and dotting our I's.
We don't sell a lot of land in town. Anything else? Good, Elaine?
Yep.
So the chair will entertain a motion to approve.
I move to approve the appointment, or the title, I should say.
Second?
Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? It's unanimous and so carries. Thank you very much, folks.
Thank you.
Thank you. It is 6:45. We should get to our public hearing.
We normally do a quick photo with the new employees at this time.
Okay. Why don't we open the public hearing and gather the folks back in for a quick photo. So I'm going to go ahead and open the public hearing for an entertainment license application, the Hopkinton Parent Teachers Organization for the Carnival at the Hopkinton High School, 90 Hayden Rose Street, June 27th, 30th, 2024. Do I need to read beyond that, Elaine, or is that good? Okay. So the public hearing is now open. We're going to suspend it for 1 minute while we get it picked with our new employees. Tonight.
So let's do her first. Go ahead. Here, please. 2, 3, and please eyes open. Thank you.
Thank you all very much. Good luck, folks. Thank you very much. One more picture. Let's do that now. We're gonna do one picture. All right.
Is there any way to blacken that? Take that down or no? All right. Right up next to each other, please. 3 or 4 pictures. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Do you want to switch now? Your vice chair? Or do you just next, like,
For this meeting, no.
Okay.
That was
Okay, thank you for that. Thanks, Amy, for reminding me. So we have a public hearing that is ongoing now. We'll continue that public hearing. Mrs. Lazarus.
Just wondering if there are applicants present, but apparently not at the moment. So the HPTO has applied for a carnival license, this entertainment license for a carnival at the high school from June 27th to June 30th in the afternoon and evening. The dates are on the agenda. The times for the carnival hours are a little bit different on the application than they are on the agenda. I did note that the Thursday hours requested were 6 to 10:30, and on the 28th was to 11 o'clock, and on the 29th is also to 11 o'clock is the request. So that's different than what's on the
I
agenda.
believe we have 2 of the applicants on Zoom. I think Sarah Navin is from the PTO. Is that right?
So perhaps they can explain the application.
Applicants are online? Got it. Okay.
Yeah, Sarah Navin has her hand raised. I'm just saying it out loud so Ben hears us. Okay, here she comes.
All right. So if we could have the applicants walk us through the request, please.
Oh, you're muted.
Will that come on up here? Okay.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me?
We can now, yes. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Sarah Navin. I'm president of the parent-teacher organization. I believe at least one other person is here tonight, also from the PTO. We have a big fundraiser. It's one of our largest fundraisers. It is 4 days long, Thursday through Sunday. This year, I believe it is June 27th through the 30th. We have already met with the fire department, the police department. Superintendent was there as well. Hopkinton Center for the Arts has also been involved, just so they know we'll be using the space. So we have a map already planned out of where everything will be, where everyone will be, and make sure that we have enough safety personnel. We're actually going to have more safety personnel than previously. And I'm here if you have any questions.
Great, thank you. Is there another person online that wanted to speak?
Hi, yeah, this is Mara Fitzgerald. I'm also with the Hopkinton PTO. I'm part of the fundraising team. I just basically reiterate what Sarah said, and I know you had mentioned the hours were different than I think what was on there. So I think what the hours that you had were correct. It was like 6:30 to 10:30 on Friday, and then the 7 to, I believe it was 11 for Saturday and Sunday.
I think 6:30 to 10:30 on Thursday. And
Sorry,
then,
yes.
Yep.
And then, yep.
Perfect. Thank you, Maura.
Okay, great. Mrs. Lazarus, does all this align with what you're thinking would happen and the expectations of public safety and so forth?
Yes, so I did confirm that they have complied with the permitting team comments, so there's nothing additional to be addressed there. The only outstanding issue is the hours, just to make sure that everyone's on the same page. The last time the permit was issued, it was the hours that are reflected on the agenda.
Okay, anything else on the applicant's side of the equation? With that, are there any members of the public here that would like to speak to the issue? And I think this is the appropriate time to ask that question.
We have a letter.
We do have a letter, yeah.
Okay, we do have a letter, thank you. Anyone else here that wants to speak to the question in front of us? All right, would someone like to read the letter, please?
Give him a chance. Go ahead.
Mary Jo, you going to read it for us?
Okay. I'm reaching out to you as a concerned citizen. I have been a resident of 95 Hayden Row Street, Hopkinton, for the past 50 years. My wife and I have raised dozens of children among our biological children, as well as foster children we have taken into our home, excuse me. All of our children attended Hopkinton Public School System, and we have been a huge supporter of a high level of education for the children of Hopkinton. My wife and I have grown frustrated over the past few years. There appears to be more and more events held at the school after hours, and I am okay with events that are held over the 3 to 4 hour period, but events like the upcoming carnival have a real impact on my wife and me. The noise is constant over the 4 days period, and I am trying to enjoy my home and my golden years with my wife, and it really has an impact on us. I would ask that the school committee and the town of Hopkinton look for alternative options moving forward to lessen the impact that it has on our residents. Maybe there are other venues that could be host to this event and wouldn't have such an impact on me and others. Thank you for your time and careful consideration of this matter. Kenneth Swenson.
Thank you. It's a nicely written letter. So any other public comments for the public hearing?
Me.
Go ahead.
I just want to, we have had a lot of complaints in the past about the carnival, about the carnival people smoking on Hayden Row Street and leaving butts around, throwing trash in people's yards, and I want to make sure that you have somebody out there keeping an eye on them all the time. It doesn't have to be a police officer. You know, it can just be an appointed person that makes sure that all this is taken care of. That's all.
Thank you. Anybody else for public comment? With that, why don't we go ahead and entertain a motion to close the public hearing, and then the board can deliberate. Somebody want to move to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
Any comments on closing the public hearing? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, the public hearing is now closed. The board can deliberate on the issue before us. Mrs. Lazarus, the carnival has had a bit of a mixed history. There have been some issues over the years. Nothing major, but a lot of minor stuff, a lot of nuisance stuff. I've heard about the smoking on Hayden Row. I've heard about the noise. I think they're all legit concerns. I heard the applicant mention there's going to be more security this year. I think I heard the applicant say that. Is that our security, as in HPD, or is that some other entity that's going to kind of do what they want to do?
They will be hiring detail officers.
They will be hiring professional detail officers. Okay. All right. Thank you. I live about 4 blocks from the carnival, 5 blocks. I can hear it. It reminds me to go and spend money. You can spend money there very fast with the kids. But, I think it does a great service for the community, but I think the concerns are legit, and we should talk about other venues moving forward, as the person that wrote the letter mentioned. Any comments from the board Mr. Manning.
Through the chair, I saw the fire department had some open questions, so I wanted to check if those has been addressed. And then I think the Board of Health had some requests for getting more validation of the food trucks and the food facilities. So have we cleared those out? That would be my question.
I did hear from Gary that all of the fire department's issues have been addressed, and they'll be monitoring as needed. The Board of Health will do the inspections as needed and make sure that everyone complies.
Excellent. Thank you.
Good. Mr. Clark.
Nothing from me.
Mr. Ritterbusch.
I just was going to note for the public, in addition to the Board of Health permits, they'll be required to get an electrical permit from the building department, and the Mass State Building Inspector will inspect the rides. I know people get worried about that. And then the police department will request the applicant's information so they can do the query checks, and then all employees will wear ID badges while working the carnival, so we'll make sure that it's the right people who are query cleared. And, yep, and that's it. But otherwise, I think it's a great fundraiser for the schools, and I think it's improved every year, and they try to address the issues as they come each year.
Ms. Lafreniere. Anything else?
I said it.
Okay, good.
It's bothering me.
Okay. Is there a possibility that in future years this could move to somewhere like Fruit Street? That's a fairly big facility down there now. I know there's a lot of turf and a lot of grass, but not a huge amount of parking, but I don't know, I'm just throwing out ideas here because the letter writer did talk about, can we consider something else? Have we looked at other venues over the years?
Nevin is ready to answer.
Yeah, that'd be great. If the applicant could maybe weigh in on that, that would help us.
Sure. I love that idea. I think it's definitely worth looking into. I think we've gotten used to this because, one, it goes to the schools. It's a big open area. It's also easy from an emergency access standpoint. There's an in and out. You can get in very easily. You can get out very easily. It's also not being used during that week specifically. We made sure that it was after school, after all the kids are out, whereas the fields might still be used at that time of the year. But that's not to say that that couldn't be actually a great location, Fruit Street. So I'm definitely willing to work with the fire department and the police department and see if we could switch venues going forward. I'm completely fine with that. Our goal is to raise $100,000 for the school system on an annual basis, which is so much money and so much time and effort goes into these fundraisers. So to be able to have these fundraisers are hugely important. However, we are completely here for the community. We want to make the community happy and we want to make the school system happy. So I am absolutely happy to look into options like that for the future.
Yeah, I'm not advocating necessarily that it be at the Fruit Street complex, but the idea of looking maybe at some other venues, I think would make the residents feel like it's been fully vetted and, we settle on what's the best option for the overall community. So just something to think about for next year. With that, the chair will entertain a motion to approve the request before us specific to the carnival on June 27th through the 30th, 2024.
So moved.
Second.
So we have a motion and a second on the table, and that motion is to approve the carnival through those dates, correct, and the times allotted.
May I suggest considering the possible conditions that are in the draft motion as...
Please suggest if we've got so there's a draft motion. Aha, I forgot about that. Can someone grab that draft motion, please?
I move to approve an entertainment license to the PTO for the carnival to be held at the high school from June 27 to June 30, 2024, with the following conditions. Hours of operation: Thursday, June 27, 6 to 10:30 p.m., Friday, June 28, 6 p.m. to 11 p.m., Saturday, June 29, 1 p.m. to 11 p.m., Sunday, June 30, 1 p.m. to 9 p.m. All carnival employees shall be CORI and SORI certified in accordance with Mass General laws and supported by the police chief. A copy of the Sunday license shall be provided to the town manager's office before June 27. The generators shall be located as far from residences as possible. Barricades shall be erected on the easterly side of the Hayden Row across the street from the carnival in order to prevent use of sidewalk in front of residents. Rides shall be as far back from the street as possible, with the loudest being located in the interior closest to the school building. The permitting team comments and recommendations shall be addressed by the applicant.
Is there a second to the motion?
Okay.
Any further discussion on the motion? Does the applicant concur with the conditions of the motion?
Yes, I concur.
Yes, I concur.
Okay. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. All right, public hearing has been closed. We'll move on to the next public hearing. We're a couple minutes late. This public hearing should open at 7 p.m., so we're at 7:03. My apologies. This is a public hearing for a utility pole hearing, Verizon New England Incorporated. The Select Board will hold a public hearing on a petition for a utility pole located on Elm Street. Ms. Lazarus, do we need to have a motion to open the public hearing, or I just announced that I forgot that one?
You can just open the public hearing.
Open it, okay, so we don't need a motion for that, thank you. So the public hearing is now open for Verizon New England for a pole on Elm Street. Is Verizon New England here this evening?
They should be on Zoom.
They should be on Zoom. I keep forgetting about Zoom. Okay. If the Verizon folks could join us on Zoom, please.
I am here. Can you hear me okay?
Hi, Don.
Hello.
Please go ahead.
Very good. Thank you, folks. I would like to, speaking earlier today, I'm not sure if it was with the town administrator or not, but we would like to respectfully request a continuance for this hearing to the next meeting. And the reason being, we had some concerns with the pole being so close to another pole. We think we know why, but we're not entirely sure. This was a motion brought forth, or a request, I should say, brought forth from Eversource. They wanted to put the pole there, and we think it's for an EV charging, well, we know it's for an EV charging station. We just don't know why it needs to be so close. So we're trying to get those answers for you from Eversource. And we'd like to have them answered ourselves before we can bring them to your attention. So with that being said, I would like to respectfully request that we continue this hearing.
Okay, thank you, Don. Elaine, any issues with continuing?
No, we recommend the continuance.
Any board members have any concerns?
Yeah, that was the same question I had, because I think Dave Daltorio posed those questions in the materials we had, that some of the poles are too close, almost 5 feet apart. So would like to hear the explanations and possibly an alternate plan.
Okay. Everybody good? So the chair will entertain a motion to continue the public hearing to a date and time to be determined. So someone has to make the motion.
I move to continue the public hearing to next meeting.
Why don't we say to a date and time to be continued, determined, because if we can't quite figure it out next meeting, we'll have to do this all over again.
Next meeting is June 4th.
Is there a rush on this, Elaine, from our perspective?
No.
Yeah. Okay, sorry. Mary Jo, it's your motion. Go ahead, whatever you want to say.
I was going to say we move it to June 4th at 7 p.m. Could be June 18th, too. It doesn't really matter to me, but
Okay.
it's up to the board what date they would like.
So let's work on the motion a little bit. Does anybody have a specific date and time they want to do this, or are we okay leaving it kind of open-ended, or how do you want to do it?
Well, I was going to say, I move to continue the public hearing to June 4th at 7 p.m.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, that public hearing is continued until June 4th at 7 p.m.
Thank you.
Thank you, Don. Item number 9, farmers market license for the Hopkinton Farmers Market, Aaron Knapp Sellers LLC. Elaine.
We did skip an agenda item.
Confirmation of when we would circle back to number 6. The update.
Ooh.
Only because I have a vendor here who's ready to.
Excellent question. We will do that now, actually. My apologies, I missed it. I made a mistake. Okay, we have covered our public hearings though, right? So I just want to make sure we're good there. All right, so let's go backwards to item 6. Again, my apologies. For hiring process updates for the town manager, the deputy police chief, and the deputy fire chief. Why don't we take the deputy police chief and the deputy fire chief first, and then Ms. Lazarus can step off and we can talk about the town manager.
All right, we can do that.
Okay? So, please, on the deputy police chief.
Deputy Police Chief. So Public Safety Consultants is the vendor that we are utilizing to facilitate the recruitment process for the Deputy Police Chief. The deadline was April 12th to submit applications. After the advertising was completed, 12 applicants submitted their interest. The vendor conducted the first initial screening to see the applicants met the minimum qualifications for the position. And then the vendor provided an exercise, a written exercise of essay questions for the applicants to complete. On 4:30 and 5:01, the review committee then interviewed 6 candidates and chose 4 to move forward for the assessment center. The assessment center was held on the 16th last week. And the next step will be to identify the top 3 candidates to go before the select board for a final interview. So we're finishing the process. So we will choose a meeting for that to happen.
Okay, let's take them one at a time. Anything else for the deputy police chief? Okay, let's go to the board if we could, please, for questions, comments. Mr. Mann.
Not much at this time. I'll wait for the final round and some of the, when you are able to share some of the resumes and information.
Mr. Clark.
One question. I believe at the town meeting, we talked about a change to the strong chief clause, right? Adding in the A. I think it was an oversight. Has that changed any part of this process in how we view this?
No.
Just a formality?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Ms. Lafreniere.
Well, I've been part of the fire chief process, and I imagine it's the same, and I think we just have to let the process play out until you have someone or a few people to bring before us.
Mrs. Ritterbusch.
Yeah, I really appreciate you bringing us the update. I know the public is very curious about this. I don't have any questions, but we always appreciate getting this update so the public can know what's going on.
Through the chair, I did have one question.
Sure.
Yeah, if you remember, we talked about having a resident representative in the deputy fire chief selection committee. Has that been opened up or discussed? I just wanted to check on that.
Yes, I did reach out as discussed.
Okay, thank you.
And I think some of that was covered earlier, but maybe not, and I'm trying to listen and I'm trying to get organized here as the chair, so I'm a little behind schedule in my brain anyway. Can you tell me who is on the selection committee for the deputy police chief?
So we have Muriel Kramer, Elaine Lazarus, myself, the police chief, Chief Hicks from Natick,
Patricia Duarte.
and Patricia Duarte, who is the chair on the personnel committee.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that is the selection committee. That's the interview committee. What is that?
It was the review committee who did interviews.
And is that in line with your question?
It is, except for the deputy fire chief, there was not a resident representative.
Right.
So I had requested.
Oh, and a fire chief. Yeah, we're going to come to that one.
Right,
Yeah,
so
gotcha.
he had requested that we do, because we had already passed that phase of this process. So since we we reached out for town manager for there to be a community representative and at-large representative, that we would do the same for fire.
For fire. So Mrs. Kramer is no longer on the board. Was she a board representative for this selection committee, or was she a citizen for this selection?
She was a board representative.
Okay, so do we need to change that, Mrs. Lazarus?
The board, that committee is done with their role in the process.
Okay. So the next committee, what about the interview committee? So who's on the interview committee then?
We've already interviewed, and they've already done the assessment. So that
Then how are you whittling it down to the 3?
we're at the assessment center whittles it down to the last
Assessment center does it down to 3. Got it, okay.
And then the final 3 go before the
And the final
select
3
board.
come here, so the volunteers or others are not involved going forward. Got it. Only took me 5 minutes to figure that out. Thank you. Okay. Any questions, any other concerns, thoughts about the deputy police chief position process? Have we got a lot of public input on this process, Mrs. Lazarus?
I don't think so, no.
No
Not at this point.
concerns, no frustrations from the public on the deputy chief
Not
position
at
to
this
date?
point, no. Not that I'm aware of.
Okay, I mean, it's new to me. I wasn't in on every detail, obviously, and it seems as if the board is comfortable with where we're headed. Is that a fair statement?
Yes, it's a much more comprehensive process than when we hired the last deputy police chief.
Okay.
So I'm much more comfortable.
It's a fairly standard process, so we are following the same. The resident representative is what we started to add with the town manager first, and now with the deputy fire chief, but the deputy police chief did not have that, and it didn't come up at that time.
Got it, thank you. And are you comfortable with the process, Mr. Select Person over there?
I'm comfortable right now.
Okay, good. All right, great. Okay, so with that, thank you for that update. And with everybody's questions being answered for now, we'll move then to the deputy fire chief process.
So we have a review committee established for the deputy fire chief. So Mary Jo is the select board member who is on that. Elaine and myself and the deputy, Elaine, myself, and the chief are on that, as well as Bob Levinson.
As the citizen
As
representative?
the citizen, yeah.
Okay.
The member at large. So the outstanding member would be like an outside chief. And we're at a point where we are reviewing the process further, because it's my understanding that the vendor is, the contract with the vendor is for the assessment center only. So we need to supplement the process, whereas the other vendor did more of a full spectrum of the process for the deputy police chief.
Spectrum, and this is a little bit more limited to assessment. Is that the norm in the fire industry?
I'm not sure if that is the case. I don't know if the chief wants to speak to.
Hello, Chief.
Good evening, sir. So when we went out to bid initially for the Deputy Chief's Assessment Center, we used previous practices. We've never advertised this position externally, so we basically cut and paste the last time we did an assessment center. So what went out to bid was just the assessment center portion. Now with needing to do an outside search, we have to re-advertise that, so it's all inclusive in the contract.
Okay. So from what you just said there, it's my sense then, again, being the newbie here, we're trying to go outside, or we're open to the idea of going outside to fill the position, correct? And we could have internal applicants obviously apply as well.
Yep.
Okay.
I guess that's the direction the board wanted to head, is all these positions being advertised externally.
Okay, so that was a board directive. That makes sense. Okay, great. Thank you. All right. Anything else? So does your question about the citizen thing, it sounds like it's been addressed?
Yeah.
Fair? Okay. Anything else you want to say about the process and the committee and so forth?
No, we will move forward. So I guess the question would be whether or not we look to like re-advertise for a vendor to do the full spectrum, or if we supplement what the vendor's going to provide with our own advertising and all of that, which we also can do.
Okay. Do we have budget money for this outside vendor to come in and help?
I believe in the past it was paid by the department.
Yes. It's not budgeted for. We just, like the Fire Chief Assessment Center, we just ate it out of our operations budget.
So you have enough there for a couple grand or whatever it is to cover that cost?
It'll be tight.
Okay.
Going into the next fiscal year.
I'm glad it will be tight. That means you got a good budget number. You don't have too much cash sitting around there. Okay. Any questions, comments from the board? Why don't we start with Ms. LaFreniere?
Well, I met with the chief, and I'm part of this team, so I really don't have any questions right now. I've met with the chief. I'm part of this team, and we've done some talking, and I've talked with HR on it, and we're just moving forward, and I have good hopes for a good outcome.
Yep, like as always, I really appreciate the public process and they letting the public know how it's moving along. People always have questions about that, but I don't really have any, I don't have any other questions or concerns, but I look forward to meeting the candidates.
Joe?
Few things. So one, my understanding, I think what I heard was the board decided that we should go external, right? Kind of restart this process, and we talked about supplemental costs associated with that. Do we have a ballpark on what that looks like?
Right now, the assessment center was roughly 10,000.
10,000?
That's before any advertising or anything.
And you talked about the budget being pretty tight. With that, are there better things that money could be used for?
Of course, sir.
I'd love to, would you care to elaborate?
If we have to eat this out of our operations budget, this will be coming out of our equipment line item, maybe some personnel expenses over time. So places that we could use for either training equipment will suffer in that area.
So, I'm curious to my fellow board members here. I have kind of an understanding of, what a strong chief is. It's always been that way in this town. I followed the chief search last year, and I feel very strongly like when we do department heads and stuff, we need to make sure we're observing all the options for the town in the best interest of the town. We have our strong chief. We have our chief now. My understanding is everyone's very happy with him. Is this the best use of our time and resources and the money when, if we have internal candidates, why don't we just explore that path, save some money, allow the men and women of our fire department to do their job with more resources?
Okay. I'm sure some folks may have some thoughts on that. Mr. Mann.
Yeah, I think we always want to look for, internal talent to grow and promote, but at the same time, we want to go for the best. And this is a reflection of that process and policy.
Can I?
Yeah, anybody else hasn't gone? We've all gone once, right? Go ahead, Joe, and I'll come back. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I look at this, again, to reiterate my point on the chief, again, completely agree with going external there, review all options, but I view this deputy chief position as a critical one to the department, and again, being very familiar with the firehouse growing up, that is a position that interacts with when there's personnel decisions, right? So, when we think about our chiefs and what we ask, when we think about succession planning, if we have internal candidates in mind, I think it's very important to think about what message that sends to the guys on the department, the men and women on the department that are working. They only get so few options for promotion in that line of work, and it can potentially be a morale detriment to look at external options when we have qualified candidates internally. So I'd love to know, if we do have qualified candidates internally, why can't we look at pursuing that, saving some resources, and moving more quickly here?
Mr. Clerk, I think what you're suggesting is a little bit different than what the board set up initially for this search. How far in the process are we in this search right now in terms of having that assessor or an assessment lined up? Do we have a contract in place? Are we already down the path, or is this something that's still getting kind of percolated and get ready to go?
We have a contract in place for the assessment center. We've established like a review committee, but we have not begun the advertising for it.
For the next piece of the puzzle, which is beyond the assessment center to this other help that we could get and open it up to others outside, correct? So there's still room to adjust here if the board is so inclined, but I'm hearing a couple of different thoughts on this. Anybody else?
Well, nothing precludes hiring from within. I mean, because we're advertising, we're going out, we're just trying to expand the field so that we can get a number of the best candidates out there. And that does not mean that anybody in the department can't apply. They'll be part of the process just like anybody else. And so we're not stopping him, or stopping the chief from promoting from within. We're just having as much depth as we can.
Okay.
No, I totally respect that, Mary Jo. Again, I heard, what I think is a large number when we talk about tightening the budget. Sorry, what was it?
I haven't had a chance to speak.
Oh, sorry, Amy. Amy, you go.
Okay. Yeah, I was going to say that I think it's always best practice to advertise both externally and internally for these high-level positions. But as we've seen in the past, we often have very high-qualified candidates within the department. So I would suspect that's the case right now, too. But I think we should advertise it both internally and externally. But if we need to save money, HR could advertise it externally, right? It just wouldn't be, as robust or wide of a external search, right?
Mm-hmm. Could.
How about this? Could you do us a favor and look into the possibility of advertising it internally?
Externally, but with
externally with our internal folks, right? And see what you think that might look like, what you think those results might yield for us in terms of applicants and so forth. Maybe come back to us and give us an update on that at our next meeting. Does that sound like a reasonable approach?
All good for saving money, so that's good.
Everybody okay with that idea? So let's just table writing a check for 10 grand or whatever it is right now until we do that little bit of research and come back and give us a feel. If you feel that 10 grand is an ROI that we can live with, great. If you feel there's another way to do it that we don't have to spend the 10 grand, that'd be great too. So if you wouldn't mind checking that out. Is everybody okay with that? Mm-hmm. Good? Absolutely. Everybody good with Ms. Lazarus, you good with that idea? Okay. All right, great. So we'll table and we'll get some more input on the deputy fire chief process soon, hopefully at the next meeting, but whenever you're ready. So if it's this next meeting or the one after, we'll figure that out. Thank you very much for coming, Chief. We appreciate your input.
Can I just add, our last 3 chiefs have all been internal appointments, and everyone seems very happy with those choices. So.
Yeah, it's definitely been one of those departments where we've grown from within. And now let's talk about the hiring process and updates for the town manager. Ms. Lazarus, I think it makes sense. You're welcome to sit in a room, but I think to move yourself from that official duty over there. It's like me when you guys say solar, I'm out of here really fast. So if you ever want to get rid of me, just say solar and I'll be gone. Okay, so now we're talking about the town manager process. And for this one, if you would indulge me, please, this is a huge hire for the town. I know we're in a process. I have no clue what that process is. I have no clue who the people are. I have no clue where we are, blah, blah, blah. So please, if you wouldn't mind kind of doing a little bit of a basic 101 tutorial for myself and Joe.
Well, we have a contract with Community Paradigm. John Petron here is from Community Paradigm, and he's prepared to give you an overview of what the process has been so far, if that's fine, okay with you.
Yeah, and before we go to the professional team, how about locally then, who's involved in this process within the town of Hopkinton? It's government, it's citizens, whomever.
Mm-hmm. So we have, of course, myself, Shadul is the board representative. Patricia Dewar and Patty Sinicole, both from the Personnel Committee, are on the review board. Carol Kavanaugh from the school superintendent.
Is she a designee of the school committee, or is she just superintendent?
She's she's the superintendent.
But the school committee did not designate anybody themselves? Okay.
No. And then Mina Bara.
Yeah.
She's our community, our member at large.
Great, great. With
Former school committee member.
and former school committee member, great. Okay, thank you. We'll come back to that in a minute. Please, sir.
All right, thank you. First, I always joke there's 2 C words in this business, congratulations and condolences. So the first meeting is congratulations. Condolences might come after the fact. So congratulations on being elected. I was here with the board, with the rest of my team not too long ago and presented. So my name is John Petrin. I'm with Community Paradigm. And just as a note, we did do the fire chief search recently this past year, so I was the lead person, dealing with the fire chief search from last year. So we were hired again to do the town manager search. We do probably 60% of the town manager searches, in the state where outside consultants are hired. So I'm a retired town manager, town administrator. I was 40 years in municipal government. I served in the town of Ashland, close by, and I retired out of the town of Burlington in 2019. The principal of our firm, Bernie Lynch, is the former city manager of Lowell and the town manager at Chelmsford. So again, Bernie had 35 years in a business. And then Sharon Flaherty, the third member of the direct team, is a communications expert. So she was a newspaper person, an editor, and worked basically in the private sector in public relations and communications. So she brings that part to the team. So we were hired to assist the board with the search. And so what we did is we worked with the town. We met with, at the time, each member of the select board individually. We met with various department heads. I had come to town several days, met with various members of departments, and put together basically a position statement. And I'll make sure, both of you see that. We advertised based on that approved position statement, from the town. And so we've been through that process. A couple of weeks ago, the screening committee did meet, and we will be interviewing the next 2 weeks. And as mentioned, Mr. Mannon is your representative from the board to the committee. We'll be meeting over the next couple of weeks candidates in the screening round. The screening committee will then pare that down to anywhere from, hopefully 3 or 4 candidates. It's, depending on what the pool looks like at that point, to present to the select board for final interviews. So we're looking to have that process ready for the 3rd or 4th week of June. So we'll need to set a meeting date, preferably between June 17th and June 26th for interviews before the select board. I'll be in contact with you, the chair in particular, on behalf of the board, talk about that process, moving forward. And with the 2 new members, I'd love to have a conversation with you now that you're on board, and we can talk further about what you're seeing and what the process has been, and just get a little bit more individual contact with each of you, as we did with each of the members of the board, so that we can move that forward. But that's where we are in the process. The committee has worked very well together at this point, and so again, we'll be doing interviews this week and next week of the screening round candidates, and that's the process where we are today. So I'm going to leave it at that, and open up for questions to the board as, to the process moving forward. But as mentioned, this is the most important decision, a select board makes, and that's, hiring of a town manager in this case.
Great, thank you, John. When you're sitting over, I'm like, I know that man. How do I know that man? We worked together years ago when you were in Ashland, and I was here on the board at the time. So great to see you again. Thanks for coming in tonight.
Sure thing.
Mr. Mannon, obviously someone that's got a lot going on here with this. Please, if you could share your thoughts on how we're doing.
Yeah, no, I think it's going well. We found, what about? Yeah. Is this better? Yes. Okay, thank you. I think it's going well. We found about
19 candidates applied.
Thank you. 19 candidates, and John has tiered them in 3, and we've gone through those tiers and identified the top ones that we want to interview. And our interview criteria was we wanted to go broader than being too selective in the first round. So the toll is on the committee a little bit to give more time, which everyone's dedicated to do. And we are interviewing about 8 candidates.
6 to 8, 6 in the beginning, and we may, we'll talk about that tomorrow at our first meeting.
So 6 in 2 days. And I think we have a good pool of candidates. And John, I think one thing also would be worth mentioning, we did elect a chair of the committee, and Patricia Duarte, who's been dedicated in the personnel committee for a long time, has offered and has been elected. So we're very happy about that. And yeah, I think looking forward to the interviews.
Great, thank you. Mr. Clark.
No additional questions. I do like your comment about like expanding it, taking more time, slowing it down. I think that's a great idea. So nothing else.
Mr. Bush.
So I appreciate the update. I know, I'm just going to mention, I've heard from the public about many people that, really wanted to participate more in this process and felt like they couldn't because there's so much interest in this position. So if there's any way to incorporate more public feedback, that is great. You have already started sorting through the resumes, correct? So that's already being done. Okay, I noticed there's an even number of people on the committee, and I didn't know if it might be worth adding a school committee member, but if you're already into the process, that probably would not be fair.
I think it's too deep into it because, they've already worked well together and selected, and have had the review of initial candidates, going through. But I think the committee's working well, and the superintendent brings that school, flavor to the discussion table.
So I guess one suggestion I have, and you can think about this, is when it's time for the select board to review the finalists, maybe we could ask the school committee to submit some questions that we could potentially ask for them, just so we're getting their voice, because that is more than half of our town budget.
Yes, and we do make sure we have a question, questions relative to the to the relationship. I mean, we all know schools in any community has the largest budget, but also it's more than just the budget discussion. It is, one of the core values of most communities, especially here in Hopkinton. So we want to make sure that's taken care of. And so we want to make sure candidates, as we're interviewing, will be addressing how do they see the relationship working between administration and administration, in those areas.
Thank you.
Ms. Lafreniere.
Well, it sounds like the process is going fairly well, and I do look forward to meeting candidates. Are you going to bring more than 3 before us? You don't know?
That's up to the screening committee. There is no direction to the screening committee. We always say between 3 and 5. Every once in a while, depending on the pool, it's 2 to 4. People back out. The problem with the, the person, better than I do these days, the personnel world these days, the committee may select 3, 4 candidates, and 1 or 2 may withdraw. And so the question is, do we put more candidates in, or are the other candidates just at a different level not to? So we'll have that discussion with the screening committee when it comes time for that.
Thank you.
Okay. Does the screening committee need to follow, or can they follow, because of privacy concerns and exposure in the marketplace? Can they follow open meeting law guidelines?
So in this case, this was not a screening committee appointed by the board. The board gave direction as to the scope, but it is a admin. But even if it were, it would be under executive session. You would get no candidates applying if it were a public process, as in any process followed by municipal government. You always wait until the final candidates. Only the final candidates will be released. If you don't give that assurance, you will not receive any candidates, in the process. This is the way it works through all 351 cities and towns. We'll follow that same procedure, and so the public will only see the finalists that are presented. And that is the situation with every single appointment, that's done through a committee basis. Yeah. Because again, you just would not, it's like the private sector. No one even knows, who's applying, because, people have to go back to the positions they hold.
Okay, that makes sense. When we hire a superintendent of schools in Hopkinton, and I've sat on that hiring committee on 2 or 3 different occasions over the years, there's a process at some point along the way where the proposed candidates come in and they do it like an introduction to the community at a public meeting, and then the community gets to ask questions. Like, it's an interview of the superintendent by the school crowd, if you will. You know, I have 5 kids, I was one of them. And it's a very open process where a lot of people get to ask questions. Is that going to happen in this process?
That's usually not the case. Well, you know, in the municipal, side of it, sometimes you can have a meet and greet, where people can, we can bring the candidates in, the finalists to meet and greet with people if you wish. But setting it up as a public interview process is usually, not the situation in this type of role.
I don't know if our superintendent, maybe it's not a formal interview type process at the public level like that, but I know there's a meet and greet type thing for sure, and I think there's a couple of them for each of the candidates to give people a chance to come. Like, it's a very thorough process.
I do like the idea of the meet and greet, and I have also served on some of the superintendent committees, and I think the finalists came and did all, I have served on one of the superintendent committees in the past, and I believe it was sort of an all-day thing that we took the candidate around to see the schools, and there was a period for PTO members to ask questions. There was a period for all the different staff to ask questions. So the idea of a meet and greet would, I think, satisfy some of the public's desire to participate.
So we can arrange a meet and greet, type situation. Also in the schools, sometimes you go to the other schools, and that doesn't happen, on a municipal side. It's just a different atmosphere, you're working with, and so that just does not happen. We provide, so when you get your finalists, all outside candidates will do a review of, you'll have that prior to your interviews, so you'll get a report from us, outlining, reference reviews and so on.
So a meet and greet would be something it sounds like the board would support, and that would be for the 3 finalists. Does that make sense?
For all 3 finalists?
All 3 finalists, not just,
Okay.
I want to pick somebody and say, okay, everybody meet her. That's kind of like, or who? It's too late then, right?
Yeah, we can talk to you about some sort of process, with that.
And we want to be fair and respectful, and we understand the concerns. But once it goes public, it's public, and then they kind of, they have to own that a little bit.
And that's rarely done, but it is done, so it's something we can talk about, as to some sort of process there.
Through the chair, I like the
Hopkinton
idea.
likes to do things rare on occasion. Go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, I like the idea. I just want to make sure that we have a, process that actually makes it a healthy conversation.
Sure.
And everyone gets to hear.
Okay.
I'm sure you'll.
So we can talk about that further.
Yeah, so let's put that on the list of to-dos, if you would, please, and think about that one.
Okay.
Thank you for that.
And so, as to a date, we will need to try to do this in a short time frame, between, like I said, June 17th and 26th, because then you're running into July 4th and July holidays, which will become problematic for you and for the candidates. At that time, it's a difficult season to, keep people interested, at that period. So we are looking at that time frame to, try to get it done.
To that point, I have zero concerns about the timing and slowing this thing down, myself, as one member. We got to get this right. I was on the board in 2007, and these guys are going to get sick of hearing some of my stories, but in 2007, we had a town manager. It didn't work. It was our first town manager ever. It didn't work. And that individual no longer worked for the town after a bit. Then we had to go through a process. Actually, we had an interim town manager, Clayton, I can't remember his last name. I'm sorry?
Clayton Carlisle.
Yeah, was our interim, kind of a 1099, if you will, town manager. And then we went through a very long process, a very slow process, I thought at the time, but it was a really deliberative process, and we got a great town manager, and he was here for 15 years. So my sense is, I'm not worried about July 4th holiday. I'm not worried about Labor Day. I'm not worried about any dates. I want to make sure we get a really good process. So if that means we have to go beyond, until we announce the 3 finalists, we're not really exposing anybody to anything. I know some people want to move on in their worlds, but we have to do it at our pace. I don't want to do it at the pace of others. So that would be one thought I wanted to throw out there this evening. And then at the end of this whole process, we get 3 candidates. And we do all these different things, and we do the meet and greet, and we're taking our time, and maybe it's after Labor Day, who knows? And we can't pull the trigger on any one of those 3 candidates. What happens next?
You go back up. That's a decision you can make. It's rarely done, but it does happen. So if you can't come to an agreement, we talk about that, and we potentially go back out and we try to understand what occurred.
Okay, that's fair. All right, thank you for answering my questions. Does anybody else have any other questions or comments specific to this initiative?
I don't. I'm involved, so I can ask questions later, too.
Okay.
Nope, good for now.
Everybody good?
Yep.
All right, great. So with that feedback, if we could kind of continue down the path, don't worry about the dates. I think we do need to slow this down and get it right, and we'll take it from there. Okay? I'm sorry? Hang on one sec, please. What is the board's preference to members of the audience speaking? I want to be careful about precedent, but I want to ask the board their thoughts.
Prefer not to have comment out of order. Like, we didn't announce that there would be
Got it.
comment. There could be other people.
Yeah.
I didn't hear the question because you were facing
Yeah,
that
the
way.
question is, what are your thoughts about having somebody speak to an issue that's not sort of a public hearing type thing? My inclination is not to start going down that path, because once you do, it's very hard to pull it back, because there's going to be other issues that might come up that,
Yeah, it's hard to speak to a specific issue when you could have other issues or differences of opinion.
Mr. Mann.
Yeah, through the chair. I think we want to hear the voice, but we don't want to disrupt the protocols that we follow. So if the resident can send the question, email us too, and we'll try to address it in our...
Mr. Clark.
Yeah, I agree, especially with something like this where we're slowing down the process. There will be other public forums in our next town meetings.
So we appreciate the interest, but I think going out to the public in general after public comment is not advisable for the board under its normal operating rules, because it can become very cumbersome on other issues with other people with other passions. So I just want to be very consistent in how we do it and run our business. But thank you for the interest. I'm sorry?
Would I be able to make a comment at the next meeting in public comment?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Anything else? Everybody good? I think we're great. Thank you so much for that input and the update, and we'll see you soon.
Okay, great.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
We'll go get Elaine.
Yeah, we lost our town manager. Thank you, John. John.
Yep, great to see you. Nice to meet you.
Okay, we need to move it along here, folks. We are running out of time. Next up, we're going to talk about a farmer's market license, unless I missed something else in my jumbled agenda.
I believe
think
the
that's-
applicant is on Zoom. No.
I'm sorry?
The applicant is on Zoom. I'm just telling Ben so he can.
Oh, the applicant is here for the farmer's market license. Elaine, you want to just give us a quick overview of this, and then we'll go to the applicant.
Okay, Aronap Cellars LLC has applied for a farmer's market license, and they will be selling wine at the farmer's market from June 9th to October 13th.
Okay, great. And is the applicant on Zoom, and can the applicant describe their request, please?
Yes, I'm Noel Powell of Aronap Cellars. We're seeking to join the Hopkinton Farmers Market this summer, sample and sell our wine for by the bottle for take-home consumption.
Okay, thank you very much. Ms. Lazarus, how are we doing with public safety and this request?
No outstanding comments from the permitting team.
Okay.
This is the second of 3 vendors we're anticipating who want to sell alcohol at the farmer's market.
What is your recommendation?
Recommend approval.
Okay. Ms. Ritterbusch.
Yeah, we just approved one for a mead license, I think, at our last meeting, and so since the permitting team has no adverse comments, I'd recommend approval.
Okay. Ms. Lafreniere.
Well, we did okay, the mead people, and they have been here in the past and been good tenants at the farmer's market. And I am assuming that you're going to be the same. Your samples are going to be in the little teeny cups, and you're going to take care of the trash and take it out of there, and we're going to be so many feet from the church. Is that right? You're within 500
Yes.
feet. Is that the law? You can't sell alcohol within a certain length from schools, or when the school is not there anymore, so that's not a problem. The Korean church is, so you have to be at least 500 feet from the Korean church. And I guess that's it. I just want to make sure that nobody gets to abuse the samples of the wine.
Ms. Lafreniere, I know I'm dating myself when I say this, but if you recall in Happy Days about 40 years ago, that TV show, Richie Cunningham had little cups of something, and his dad said, "How many did you have?" And he said, 72.
Yeah.
So I hear what you're saying about the small cups and abusing that. Mr. Mannon.
Yeah, no, I'm in favor of this, and I think the farmers market need, more attraction, and this will bring that. Last year I was in the market, and it felt like it was dying a little bit, so I'm very happy to see that we have 35 vendors this year, and we are getting the additions such as this one. One question I do have is I've noticed that our health department has requested some process for discarding the sample cups and serving sizes. Have we accommodated those questions? I think it was from Sean.
Yes,
Just a bag.
Go ahead.
Yes, I believe all of the listed suggestions and comments on the agenda today are part of our standard process that we follow at all of the 11 to 12 farmers markets per year that we participate in. So this is pretty much standard procedure.
Ms. Lazarus, do you concur?
Yes.
Good?
Thank you.
Okay, I have no further questions. Anybody else? All set? Chair will entertain a motion as found in the motions document.
I move to approve Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 138, Section 15F, Farmers Market License to Aaron App Sellers, LLC, to sell wine at the Hopkinton Farmers Market on Sunday from June 9th, 2024 to October 13th, 2024.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second with Mr. Mannon, thank you. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It's unanimous, all set. Thank you very much. Good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item number 10, municipal parking behind Town Hall and Bill's Pizza. I'm aware of the situation, at town meeting and the article that went forward at town meeting that did not pass at town meeting, if I remember correctly. And so, Ms. Lazarus, do you want to walk us through where we're at and possible next steps, or what's going to happen?
I'm wondering if the owners are on Zoom, or?
There's there's just one person logged in with, like, the name is HOBS. Does that sound?
No.
Oh, that might.
So Connor is on the Zoom, John Mosher, and someone logged in as HOBS. Okay.
That doesn't sound familiar. But they had talked about coming to speak to the board this evening about the future of the potential to share parking. And so it would be great if they were here for a discussion. But the question is to the board that they were going to ask is, do you want to continue to discuss that with them, or is it something that they can move on from at this point and talk about other development plans for the area?
Okay.
And you don't necessarily have to have an answer this evening, but it's something the board can discuss.
Why don't we start with the basics? We were at town meeting. We saw the article for 180 total spaces, something around there, and it did not pass. Do we all agree that, one, it didn't pass, and two, obviously that's not going to fly? Maybe there's something we have to reconsider, or just kind of let it go? I don't know. This is somewhat new to me. Although we've been down this path as a town in the past, and I think a couple of times we've done it before, at least one time before, it also failed. So what I saw at town meeting was a huge parking lot in my mind. They took out all the trees and just really opened the whole thing up, and obviously the neighbors didn't support that, and frankly, I don't blame them. But is there some other idea that the board is interested in pursuing, or do we just want to table it for now? I don't know. Why don't we start with Mr. Mannon?
Yeah, no, thank you. I think we certainly want to respect the town's voice. However, we do know that there is a pain point for parking lot for the town employees and the visitors, as well as downtown customers. So it would be nice to look at other options, but the other question up for discussion for everyone is that the 2.7 million, is this the top priority for spending that? So it's a balancing act. I wouldn't mind looking at other options. And the last one is, I hope Bill doesn't stop us the parking privilege that we have today, because I think legally they can do that. So that would be really inconvenient for the town employees for sure, and for those who enjoy that parking today for town visits and customer visits. So the problem remains. The solution is certainly much more complicated now. So we should, as leaders, discuss and see if there are other options, other negotiations or lease options even we can explore with Bills. That's my 2 cents on that.
Okay. Mr. Clark.
I'm still kind of catching up on this. Obviously, I saw at town meeting, was very aware of that proposal, but were there previous proposals, more scaled back, less of an investment? Was there anything that was reviewed in the past, or at least the recent past, I should say?
Well, as Brian will remember, several years ago, we put articles up to, for 3 parcels to be made parking, and we purchased 2 and not the 3rd, which was this one.
Yeah.
And it didn't pass.
Yeah, I'm talking, so, yeah, I need to spend some more time thinking about this, because I think, Shadul, you hit on the nail on the head, right? Like, town employees need more parking, right? We need more parking and at a cheaper cost, so I got to kind of rethink.
Okay, that makes sense. Mrs. Ritterbusch.
Yeah, I've been thinking about this a lot. I think clearly it was not ready for town meeting this year. There are too many uncertainties right now. And I do feel like if the downtown project had been finished last fall, like we all were hoping and expecting, people might have more of a vision for downtown, which they just can't right now. And we don't even know when the transformers will be available. And then there's also this up in the air, the use of town properties, like the town hall needs more space, but we don't know yet if it's going to go to Elmwood School, to Center School, or we're going to expand town hall. So I think the public was not really comfortable spending the money yet without really knowing those things. And then I'm just going to mention too, I don't have trouble finding a place to park downtown yet, and it's nice if people are not feeling that, then they may not feel the need for parking. And I think there's a rule of thumb for the Donald Shoup, he's a parking guru, and that you want to have in any little downtown area about 85% parking spot occupancy at any given time and 15% open, and then you have just about the right balance of parking spots per the need for parking. And I don't know if we've done any kind of study like that, or maybe not since before the project. So I think if we had more data about what is exactly needed and what's going to be going into Town Hall versus Center School, I think that would help the public be more comfortable with it. And like Brian mentioned too, the screening, maybe it was just a little too big what was proposed.
Mrs. Frenier.
We have had parking problems, I think, at Town Hall almost as long as I can remember. At one time, the owner of what is now Bill's Pizza had cordoned off it, and the town actually owns about 6 spaces. People are coming and using them all the time, and they're actually going and using Bill's and using the back spaces, but they don't belong to us. And we have struck an agreement, if you let us use these spaces, we'll plow when we plow, and it's worked out okay, but we have to talk to Bills again after this, and we have a few spaces out front, and we are spending quite a bit of money to borrow 40 spaces during the day from St. John's. Now, in the winter, when it's really cold, walking down from St. John's to the town hall employees who can't use the 6 parking spaces behind the town hall, it's been nothing but difficult almost as long as I can remember. And I really think that we should have some money and take care of the parking lot that we bought on Walcott Street. You know, people are a little crazy because we didn't take that house down, but I don't know if they know that Parks and Rec was actually renting property to be in because we didn't have any place to put them. So when we did get that building, it was decided by the town manager to put Parks and Rec in there and not have to pay that rent anymore. And so they fixed it up a bit. That parking lot can be there with the building still there, but it needs to be leveled and graded and made into a real parking lot. And it's nothing but gravel now, and it's definitely not flat. And there's no way to get up to the town hall from down there. And we have had severe parking problems for a long time, and you know, people want the town hall, the town corridor done, and I want to see it done, but they're all crying for new business down here, and businesses where people can come and, you know, hang out, have coffee, do whatever they want to do, but and maybe another little market or something like that. But the thing is, we can't do this. We can't offer them this business unless we offer them parking downtown. It's that simple. We have to have a place to put their cars when they come here. And right now, we don't have it. So I think it behooves us to talk to Bills and keep this discussion going.
Yeah, I think that's kind of what I'm hearing from the board, is that there's this general interest in continuing discussion and try to figure out something out. I think personally, I think 180 spaces was too many, too much, too big. We tend to swing for the fences sometimes in Hopkinton, and then we sort of back down a little bit and we figure things out, and then eventually we get through town meeting and everybody's satisfied with the end product. But it can take a few years, and certainly when Blacktop is under discussion in Hopkinton, that's going to get a fair bit of attention as well. So I think a dialed back version of something and some conversation with Bills probably makes the most sense, and that'll give us a little time to kind of catch up as well. But I think, Elaine, kind of, does that give you the feedback you're looking for, that yes, we're still interested and we'd like to figure it out, but we don't know what that looks like today? Is it like we went for 180, maybe it's 90, we add 30 more. If there's 30, 35 people working in the building, we make sure there's additional parking for them, and you know, and that saves a lot of trees and a lot of, you know, land doesn't get encroached on and so forth.
Makes sense.
Okay. All right. So everybody good with that? We'll table that for now. Let's go to item number 11, 0 Hayward Street, declare surplus property. Ms. Lazarus.
So this was Article 4 on the special town meeting warrant, and this is the property where someone's house, half of their house is on town property. And so town meeting voted to dispose of the property, and so the first step to do that is for the board to declare it surplus. And then we'll go through the process, the legal process to dispose of the property, which involves an RFP.
Thank you. So this is an issue following town meeting and their affirmative vote to proceed to dispose or to sell. Mr. Clark. Any questions, comments, concerns?
Nope, no questions.
Mr. Manning.
No questions.
Ms. Ritterbusch.
No, I'm glad that town meeting approved this. I know it really means a lot to the family, and they wrote us a very nice note about it. So I'm definitely supportive of what do you call it, declaring it surplus.
Ms. Lafreniere.
No, I think this is a good article. I would move to declare 0 Hayward Street, Assessors Map L 36, Block 32, Lot 0, as a surplus town property.
Second.
We have a motion and a second on the table. Thank you for making the motion. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It's unanimous. All set. Thank you. Item number 12, the town manager report. Ms. Lazarus.
So referring to the the report in the packet. There's an update there on the Main Street Corridor project. Nothing to add to that. We will be seeing some additional work occurring, some moving of overhead wires, poles, still waiting for the transformers from Eversource, however, but they'll do whatever they can. And then after school gets out, crews will be back to start brickwork and other work, but they wanted to wait until school gets out, after June 18th, I believe, is that date.
Ms. Lazar, to that point, I think it's an excellent idea to wait until June 15, 16, whatever it is, to do that work, because it's going to be, a little bit intrusive in terms of traffic flow. But I wouldn't want them to wait a day after school closes to get going on that work. If you could please convey that message to Amarillo.
Point taken.
Thank you.
Secondly, there is an update on the PFAS treatment project.
Sorry, through the chair. Sure. I had a question on the previous one, and thank you, Elaine, for that report. And on the report, I've noticed that Eversource hasn't confirmed the date or the availability yet. They're going to look at it. But I also noticed that the completion timeline is looking at September. So there's uncertainty there, right? It's more projected, or how confident we are that by then they'll actually have something and get it done?
It all comes down to transformers. So they'll do everything they can except for the transformers, even if it means having to go back to another place again. But they'll do whatever they can.
Thank you. So to be clear, this may actually get pushed forward, right? If the transformers are not available. So the date is not certain. It's more tentative right now, based on the transformer availability. Thank you. Yeah.
All set? Next item, please.
So the PFAS treatment project is entering the testing phase, and then the equipment will be fine-tuned, be sampled, and eventually be certified by DEP, and then water will be flowing through there. No definite date yet, but it's entered that final phase at this point.
Thank you. And do you want to mention that we have now a date for the public forum on May 30th for the PFAS discussion?
What was the date again?
So May 30th is a date which we've had trouble securing speakers, is why we have not set out an announcement. But we looks like we will be able to have at least an informational public meeting to start with a lot of information for people and start a community discussion or continue a community discussion about PFAS. What is it? Where is it? What we can do about it? That kind of thing. Just to start.
Yeah, no, thank you, Elaine. And I think that'll be a great place for public and everyone interested to come and give us your feedback and input, because we want to use that to build our framework to monitor and strategize on PFAS going forward. And I think you'll confirm the date in the next couple of days, and we'll publicize it. Mm-hmm. The venue would be
the senior center.
Yeah.
The senior center.
At what time?
6 to 8 p.m.
Any other questions, thoughts on the PFAS process? Next item, please.
Oh, can I just add that it's only 9 days away from that date. Will we be able to send the press release tomorrow?
Yes, yes, we will. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Next update is on the MWRA interconnection project. No updates since the last time. PAR Engineering continues to work on the 30% design, and the town continues with that.
Questions, comments on that item?
No.
Next item, please.
Staffing update. There are positions that are being filled in addition to the ones you spoke about earlier. For example, we are still trying to find a dishwasher at the senior center if you know anyone who is interested. Also, we have a water technician offer extended and accepted by someone, so that's a good position to fill. Also, a police officer academy candidates will be coming to the select board, one on June 4th. The candidates for interviews for a new benefits administrator are scheduled for interviews. Vacancy was created with the promotion of Jessica Leverins. Per diem dispatchers, we have a candidate in pre-employment process. Still accepting applications for our public safety dispatchers full-time. We have received several candidates for interviews for a social worker and program coordinator, and a position of administrative assistant at the DPW has been advertised as well.
Questions on the staffing update?
I don't have any.
Would you be able to put together a list of all the open positions in town government, please, and the length of time that they have been open? In other words, when the vacancy took place and, you know, obviously how far back that was. I'm just curious to see it sort of on one piece of paper. Maybe it's out there somewhere. I don't know.
It's actually been in our packet recently.
Yeah.
So
you do have.
Yeah, I'd just be curious to see what that is and how long these positions have been open, because we're going to come back to that when I get to the future board agenda stuff in a minute here. So thank you for that update. And item E.
Item E is very exciting. The 128th Boston Marathon fundraising totals for this year was $566,187.48, which is an increase over last year. So it was very exciting to see all the money that was raised for charity.
Yeah. Through the chair, I'm really heartened to see that we have garnered significant increase in fundraising. I did notice that quite a few police beebs didn't get to raise much. Is there anything we can help further on those? I think 4 or 5 were under 1,000 or around 1,000. Versus everyone else is 5,000 and plus, which is great. Yeah.
Yeah, we don't have any information on why that did happen.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. All settling?
Yes.
Everybody good with the town manager report?
Yep. Can I just add, I think we really made a good decision to increase the fundraising number this year. We were really hesitant to raise it above 5,000, but I think it was a good idea. Because almost all of them made the goal, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've done it a few times, and the market rate, if you will, for numbers for fundraising with the BAA is $10,000. So I think raising it is a great idea to continue to challenge the runners and do the good things that we do with that money that's raised. So well done by everybody. Item number 13, liaison reports. Mr. Clark, what liaison reports do you have to give us this evening?
I must have lost them on the walk-in.
Good answer. Okay. You'll catch on to this one later. Mr. Mann.
Yeah, I don't have a lot, but the ESBC meetings are going well. There were some design discussions and progressing and tracking. A wonderful group of people. So it's on track.
Great. Thank you. Ms. Ridderbush.
I'm on the planning board liaison, and I think with the failure of the MBTA Communities Act at town meeting, I think we're going to really have to work on that this year, and I think the select board needs to take a more active role. Like on the Green Committee this year, they came to us, and even though our approval was not required, we did go ahead and approve their article for the Stretch Energy Code. And I think it might be wise this time for the MBTA Communities Act for us to look at that in detail and make sure they're bringing forward something that we can put our support behind, because the deadline is not till the end of the year, so we have some time to figure something out, but the loss of all the grants and getting sued by the Attorney General is not something I don't think we want to happen. So I guess a future agenda item too, I guess.
Fair. Ms. Lafreniere.
Well, I'm liaison to the Marathon Committee, and I think they had a wonderful race this year. Glad we wrote the letter to the BAA asking for the use of our own common back. And we did have a lot of people on the common, and I know that the Girl Scouts made all their money, and it was, I just felt like it was Hopkinton again, and the race again, and then Dottie Ferreter came up with the idea of the 100-yard dash for the 100th for the kids, and that was a wonderful success. I hope we continue that. The 26.2 and the Arts Council did the flying feet, and that was another. And that was a big fundraiser for them. They make quite a lot of money on those, and. It was just a delight. I was so happy to see the town come back out for the weekend and enjoy themselves. and I want to see that continue. I'm also liaison to the Marathon Fund Committee, and I just want to report that we read something like, I think it was 33 applications for our scholarships, and we were able to determine 6, and we don't know who they are, at least not yet, and that's done for this year. So it was a busy month. That's all.
Great, thank you. I thought the marathon this year was awesome. It was a great day for Hopkinton. I don't have any liaison reports like Mr. Clark yet. So everybody good with liaisons? Item number 14, future board agenda items. This is a little new to me in what I see on the agenda here, because I see future board agenda items we'd like to cover. It looks like the individual that raised the question or raised the idea to cover at some point down the road. So is this how we do it now, that we actually keep track of them on the agenda itself?
That was the prior chair's decision to put them there so that they're visible, but it doesn't have to be there.
Yeah, no, I like it because it keeps them visible and it keeps them in front of us and keeps them in front of the public. So I think that's good information for everybody to see. But it was just new for me. It used to just say future agenda items and everybody would rattle stuff off, and then I'm not sure sometimes if we covered everything that people did raise. So I think this is a great idea. So with that, Ms. Ritterbusch, any future board agenda items?
Not beyond what is there, but I will note that the Upper Charles Trail Committee is still an open issue, and Irfan is gone now, so we're going to need to assign a new liaison, someone to lead that, because the issue's gone on for a long time, and we need to wrap it up, I think.
Is that committee also on the select board liaison list itself?
It is, yes.
Okay, great. So we'll do it when we get to liaison assignments.
Yep.
I think we do that a little bit later in the summer.
And I'm hearing that they're almost done with their work on suggesting a revised charge. So I'm hoping that they'll bring that to us and we can kind of make some progress.
Okay. So do we want to take Irfan's name off and put yours here? Does that make sense?
No. No, so my husband is on that committee, so that.
Okay, got it. Thank you. Thank you. Makes sense.
And trails are not really my thing.
We'll leave it there for posterity. He did good work on the board. Anything else?
Nope.
Mary Jo, anything for future board agenda items?
Yeah, I'm down here for the Tax Relief Committee. I'm waiting here from Sue Curies. I want her to come before this board. They had a very hard time this year. They've been giving out less money, and she feels like if we don't get a sponsor, they lost a sponsor. They were getting X amount of dollars from somebody every year. Now they're not getting that anymore. And they can't solicit. It's part of their tax relief thing. They can't solicit money. So she feels like if they don't find a sponsor or get some relief soon, that by 2025, they won't have any more money. They've had this problem before, and they've gone from like 500 or more, sometimes 700 when I was on it, to individuals with tax problems to we've gone down to $50 and $100 on occasion, and then we got the sponsors, and so they had a steady amount, and that's what they kind of need to continue, and we don't really know how to get that.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Mr. Clark, future board agenda items.
So just so I understand, like, we're proposing things right now?
That we would take up at a future date.
Because I know, Amy, you mentioned the MBTA, right? I think that's an important one. Did you already mention to put that on, or should we add that?
That captured. I mean, it was my planning board liaison, but it's the same. It is a future agenda item too.
Okay. Yeah, I think.
Anything else?
I also think that we should look to, and we might need to review with council first, but with the special town meeting article regarding Tim Brennan, there was a voice of the town, so we need to bring that up, address it, understand what we can or can't do legally, and just make sure it's accounted for.
Okay. So specific to that one, if I could add to that, and then I'll go to Mr. Mannon. I agree that we need to follow the general will of town meeting and investigate or understand where we are today with respect to the Sergeant Brennan situation, I think we need to have the town council and labor council join us at a meeting soon, if not the next one, the one after that, if we can't work out schedules, and give us the update as to where we are. There's a lot of speculation out there as to where we are, what an arbitration process might produce, what it may not produce, what are the options, what options don't we have, et cetera. I think we owe the community that dialogue and that transparency as best we can, given the legal proceedings that are also going on. Okay, so we'll put your name on that future agenda item since you raised it, but I think it's in with that approach, with those people coming here, I don't want to have them on Zoom. I'd like to have them in the space with us to have that conversation. Okay? Mr. Mann, future agenda items.
Yeah, I think I have a couple there. So I would like to see especially the MBTA, I think would be a good addition, and all these are important. The tax relief also, I think we want to look at other ways to help with the taxes, not only for tax relief, but also how we can help overall tax situation. But that said, I would like to also propose that we add dates to these proposed agenda items, because records will show some of the, or most of them, I think are waiting for 9 months to 12 months.
The date that it's raised, Mr. Mann, or the date you would like to see it addressed?
The date that it was raised. So it gets prioritized, and we get to see it in the agenda item, because I know the mines were waiting for 10 months. So, and not to pick on those, I think everyone has.
I think it's a great idea. So, Elaine, if we could begin tonight dating all the ones that we're raising.
Thank you.
Anything else?
No.
Okay, so I have a few. Joe's got Sergeant Brennan's situation on his list. I would like the board to consider on a future board agenda naming a special liaison to the downtown corridor project. One of us getting named as a special liaison. We have done this in the past for certain things in town. We did it with the BAA. We've done it with other situations where that individual will attend meetings with Amarillo Construction. That individual will attend meetings with Eversource. That individual will attend meetings with all the other stakeholders for the downtown corridor project, including MassDOT, and push this thing along. The community, I think, has been extremely patient, albeit impatient at times, and for obvious and I think reasonable reasons being impatient with this project. It's time for us to push. I know it's a MassDOT project, and I know 12 of the 15 or 15 of the 18, whatever it is, I know the money is predominantly elsewhere, coming from elsewhere, but it's our community that's being impacted, and we need to step up, and we need to push on this project. You know, I'm in the construction business, and if you don't push, you don't get. So I'm a big believer that we should consider some form of a formal vote to anoint somebody, to appoint somebody, special liaison to the downtown corridor project for the sole purpose of getting this work done. And getting what we can get done now, despite the transformers. I buy 240 transformers a year, literally, at work. I get the transformer problem, but there's other things that we can do for this mile or so stretch of land here that we can get going on right now. And it sounds like they're coming back the next day after school is out to start doing the brickwork and other things. But I would like somebody on this board to be in that meeting and look those folks in the eye and say, are you sure it's the next day? What time the next day? How many trucks are going to be here the next day? How many people are going to be here? Manage the process. I'd like to see this board manage the process. Another idea that I'd like to discuss in a future agenda, and I think this corridor thing, by the way, we should try to do at the next meeting, Elaine, so we can get these folks ready for this June work. For the Water and Sewer Commission, I've talked about this over the last couple of months as a private citizen. I'd like to discuss it now or put it on the agenda for a future discussion. I would like the board to appoint an advisory committee to take hold of the PFAS question, take hold of the MWRA question, take hold of our water and sewer enterprise funds in general in an advisory role so that we don't have to go back to the charter, and help us dig way deeper than we have the time to do on this board on those very serious issues. So that would be a future agenda item that I'd like to see us. Sure.
Yeah, on the second one, I think, Brian, you may have missed the proposal I had on February 28. I can forward it to you. That's exactly what I proposed.
Excellent.
And a framework for that, and that's part of the discussion we're going to have. So getting the input and see how best to form that to do exactly what you said, to do more research, to help with the strategy development, and then also tracking what are the improvements or what are the short-term and long-term plan that we are doing and executing. And a big part of it is also how we can better communicate it to the residents.
Would it be okay to put your name on the future agenda item to today's date for that particular commission or that advisory board?
Yeah,
Right,
I'd
we
love
had it
it.
on future agenda items for a long time, and now we moved it to one that we've started already because they're having a forum in
Yeah.
9 days.
Okay, so I thank you for that, but we'll figure it out, okay? If we're already started on it, great.
Yeah.
Great, okay? I'm playing catch up here a little bit, but I want to make sure we get some kind of advisory board put in place for those two particular enterprise funds. Finally, for me anyway, and that, again, if we're starting that, great, but if we need to do something else at this level, I'd want to see that by the end of August if possible, okay? And then lastly, for me, by the end of July, because the fiscal year starts July 1, I would like this board to consider instituting what we have done in the past, which is a limits of authority gets put in place across town government for the hiring of individuals, whether they be for new positions or replacements for existing positions that are open, as well as a limits of authority on spending for all town government departments at a number that we kind of work out with our colleagues in the management team, whether it's 10 grand, 15 grand, 20 grand, I don't know. I don't want to tie people's hands too much, but anything of consequence that can add up to $1 million over a couple of months or $2 million over the course of a year, I'd like us to have those limits of authority put in place by the end of July, if at all possible, given what's coming at us in the next 5 years for debt service. We need to find millions and millions and put it into reserves so that we can use those reserves instead of go to the taxpayers, for 2.5 overrides after override after override to pay for these schools and other investments that we've made here in the last year.
Through the chair.
Sure.
I was just wondering, I like all the, new ideas, and we definitely want to discuss those. I was just thinking, instead of discussing it now, we may just queue up the agenda with a brief tag, and then we can start placing them in the upcoming meetings. That way, we can discuss it more thoroughly. And one quick question I had regarding the downtown corridor liaison. And again, we can put it on the agenda and discuss it in details so we can come up with what's the best framework, what's the best goal, and all those good things that we can offer in that. Is that I heard you mentioning going on, and we all want the success of downtown corridor, and we are happy to see that now we have progressed quite a bit in the last year. Since I joined, it was much challenging situation when we first started. But that said, I think I wanted to understand also, and maybe it's up for discussion, is based on our role as select board, there is certain statutory limits how closely we can be with day-to-day operations. We don't want to do that.
That's very true.
We just want to be cognizant of that and make sure it's more at a high-level oversight level.
That's an excellent point. I think when we get to the agenda item, we should discuss that. Good point. Okay, so with that, are we good with future agenda items? Great, thank you very much. Next item is item number 15, which is an executive session. The executive session is pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A, Purpose 3, to consider strategy with respect to litigation in the United States of America v. Michael L. Ziepf et al. The case number is listed there. Because an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the litigating position of the board. And the approval of executive session minutes from 4/16 to 4/16/24 that'll take place in executive session. So that's where we're going. There is a motion specific to that if someone would be so kind.
So moved.
So if you wouldn't mind reading that motion, please, given the challenges of executive session.
You read it. I move to enter executive session pursuant to MGL C30A 21A, Purpose 3, to consider strategy with respect to litigation, United States of America versus Michael L. Ziepf, AL, 124 CV 10811, D.Mass, because an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the litigating position of the board, to approve executive session minutes, to allow Elaine Lazarus to participate in the executive session and not to reconvene in open session at the conclusion of executive session.
Is there a second?
Second.
So we have a motion and a second to enter executive session. This is a roll call vote. Ms. Lafreniere.
Mary Jo Lafreniere, yes.
Amy Roberts, yes.
Brian Herr, yes.
Joe Clark, yes.
Shahidul Manan, yes.
Okay, folks, we are adjourned to executive session. We will not be coming back to public session. Have a good evening. Thank you.